All right. The road to Orange Piccolo.
It's no secret Toriyama originally planned for Dragon Ball Super Superhero to be a Piccolo movie.
Really?
The first two-thirds of the movie make that apparent even after the script was altered to focus on Gohan for the climax. What that altered script didn't do was take away an important part of Piccolo's story. In a way, Giga Chad Piccolo over here complete.
Okay, bro. Orange Piccolo, like the character design for him, I was gonna say this. The dude literally ripped the character design from a bodybuilder. Like this dude. Like, look, just look real quick. Bro, look at how, like, do you see, like, the difference in, like, clavicle? Like, how much distance there is between the clavicle and, like, the top of his trap or whatever? Like, look how far his chin is just down. All right. And then look at Marcus Roll. Same thing. Huge, massive traps. Like, no neck, chin, fucking, like, just hulking. All right. So I would be willing to put money on it that they put this guy as, like, kind of a character design for Piccolo. All right. So there.
Completes the journey Piccolo has been on since the very beginning of Dragon Ball Z.
And this is like, look at the difference. This is like, he's like regular guy Piccolo. There's like no traps, all shoulders.
Don't get ahead of yourself, though. We have to discuss the journey that Piccolo has been on since the end of Dragon Ball. Originally, Piccolo was only seen as a one-to-one copy of his father, sharing the memories and even the physical attributes of the Demon King, who was also known as Piccolo. At the time of his introduction, he was, in essence, the incarnation of King Piccolo's vengeance. However, this new Piccolo was actually quite different from his previous incarnation.
So essentially just evil Kami.
Even when he's first introduced. Just think about it. For 3 years, he didn't cause any trouble as he waited for the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. After Goku won and let him live, the supposed Demon King just stayed in isolation for 5 more years. He was training to beat Goku, of course, but he wasn't doing any of the evil deeds his original would have carried out. Clearly, Piccolo was humbled by his loss, which allowed him to contemplate more on himself. Would the original Demon King really go into hiding or do nothing while Goku was training with Kami? Seems like a notable and purposeful change, especially after what we learn later. In early Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo still speaks as if he's entirely evil, but his edge has been dulled a bit. Despite being a harsh teacher at first, he clearly has
Yeah, I wonder why they changed him from like pure evil to like, I don't know, kind of less edgy, but still kind of, he's more like edgelord now. Like, oh, I'm a badass and I'm just gonna brood and cross my arms, like that kind of, you know, bad guy.
Concern for Gohan's well-being and even takes pity on Gohan during the survival training. Gohan later tells Piccolo that Goku doesn't think he's as bad as the original Demon King, basically confirming his actions in original Dragon Ball were intentionally out of character. Kami also notes that Piccolo is no longer
but why were they out of character if that was the case?
Evil enough to be classified as a demon, since Raditz's soul was sent to the afterlife, rather than wandering the universe in torment, the fate of those killed by demons. Side note, this actually means everyone killed by Piccolo's minions, Krillin included, were subjected to that fate as well. That actually explains no one talking about the afterlife, except for Roshi, I guess, who died using the Mafuba, but maybe it still counts as Piccolo's kill indirectly, like Guru was indirectly killed by Frieza on Namek. Anyway, some of you may be confused as to how this change started to happen, but it all leads back to Goku. Remember, Demon King Piccolo and Kami were once one. Piccolo is the evil that crept into the nameless Namekian by living on Earth and meeting malicious humans along the way. So the same can happen in reverse. Anyone that can ride the Kinto-Un is pure of heart after all, so meeting people so pure of heart like Goku and even Gohan, Piccolo could lose his lust for revenge and even begin to become a good person. This all culminates.
Okay. I mean, you know, if you hang out with a lot of bad people, you start to become bad yourself. And likewise, if you hang out with a bunch of good people, you start to become good yourself. So, I guess that's understandable.
culminates in a moment that would come to define the direction of Piccolo's character, his sacrifice to protect Gohan. Even if he lied to himself that training Gohan and fighting alongside the humans was simply a means to an end, a necessary alliance to give him the chance for another battle with Goku and world domination, his sacrifice to protect the son of his mortal enemy.
That does seem like weird though, like out of character. I mean, even if he's like rubbing off like the goodness onto Piccolo or whatever, like, yeah, I get it. Like Piccolo was like kind of looking after Goku's son or whatever, like Gohan, and then all of a sudden he's just like self-sacrifice. Like, does it only take like so like little to like rub off? Because how long were they training together? Like it takes a lot for like a human to be like self-sacrifice, like this. I don't know.
Can be seen as nothing other than a good deed. Earlier, Piccolo was aware his life would end soon. He even curses his own fate, not knowing if Kami would die of old age or he would die in battle. But neither half of the Nameless Namekian could predict that it would be a choice. Not age, not an unwinnable conflict, but a choice for a man who was once evil to do good. This is only furthered by the fact that Piccolo is allowed to keep his body in the afterlife, most likely meaning he isn't being judged for the sins of his previous incarnation, and is even being judged for the good of his actions against the Saiyans, including that character-defining sacrifice. There is definitely still an arrogance to him, and even an evil nature below the surface, but Piccolo is clearly
Bro, like the evil characters in general in DBZ are just like more interesting than like the good guy characters. You know, Goku is not interesting. He's just Superman. He's a Boy Scout. He's always gonna do the right thing. You know, like the evil character is just way more interesting.
becoming a more nuanced and morally complex character than the Demon King ever was. Once Piccolo is revived and brought to Namek, a step in his journey is accomplished. This is the point where self-discovery and power start to go hand in hand. Piccolo had found out he was a Namekian from the Saiyans, something that was a surprise to both him and Kami. That immediately tells him what Kami already knew. He isn't a demon by birth or nature, nor is he purely the evil half of God. He's simply the corrupted half of a Namekian who split himself in two. Once Piccolo arrives on Namek, he immediately knows this is his home.
Okay, so at first he was a clone, but then he just rewrote it and just said like, okay, no, you're just a half, the corrupted half of like one dude. So it's like the story is just literally rewriting itself just on the fly.
For the first time in his life, he feels something of what it's like to be a Namekian. But even then, his goal remains to save Gohan above all else. No ulterior motives attached, except perhaps fighting Frieza to prove himself as a martial artist. This is a full departure from the way he pretended not to care about Gohan in the early Saiyan saga, and the sole focus of world domination he was espousing as well. That's not the most interesting part though. It's when he merges with Nail that we start to piece Piccolo together. As is shown later on, when Piccolo calls Dende by name, Piccolo retains Nail's memories after they merge, even though he kept his own personality. If arriving on Namek was a taste of what it's like to be a Namekian, merging with Nail was the full meal. You see, this arc focuses a lot on heritage, as Goku takes up his own Saiyan heritage, understanding not only the good, but the bad of his race. Piccolo gets a less fleshed out, yet similar experience via his merging with Nail. After receiving Nail's memories and being asked to fight for things that...
Wait, so if Piccolo was the corrupted half of just some Namek or whatever, it was Kami was like the good guy half or whatever, right? So he absorbed with Kami, and then he absorbed Nail. So what? He can just like keep like constantly like absorbing Nameks and just gain power increases? I don't know, that seems like OP.
Nail wishes to protect, Piccolo's motives for fighting Frieza change. He's not fighting for just Gohan or his pride as a martial artist. He's carrying out not only Nail's will, but the will of all the Namekians who died in Frieza's invasion. Again, Goku does something similar later on, and just like Goku is rewarded for his character growth with the Super Saiyan transformation, this acceptance and understanding of Namekian heritage rewards Piccolo with power. As time passes after Namek and we get back to Earth, it should be no surprise that even with Nail's memories, Piccolo Piccolo chooses to stay on the planet he knows as home rather than going to New Namek with the Namekians. Piccolo's family aren't the Namekians he only has someone else's memory of, it's his pupil, Gohan, the friend he's making in Goku, and the place his other half still remains. When the threat of the androids emerges, Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo train together, in very stark contrast to his hatred of Goku during their first encounter. This only pushes Piccolo further. He even rivals Super Saiyan Goku and Super Saiyan Vegeta in power now, but after the group loses to androids 17 and 18, a strange moment happens of Piccolo seemingly still retaining some of his evil. However, even Krillin can see through it. Obviously, Nail could never fully complete Piccolo. He's half a Namekian at the end of the day, half of himself.
Yeah.
That outburst.
Oh, okay. So he didn't absorb Kami yet, but like him hanging out with Goku and Vegeta, I like, why would he do that? So like, I think that just is like kind of a common thing, just with like skill acquisition in life. If you, whenever you're like choosing, or like say, let's say you got like a hobby or something, or you're playing a game, you want to like do your hobby or whatever with other similar skilled people. You know, you don't want to be carried. You don't want to, carry other people. You want to be at about the same level. So I could understand the Piccolo hanging out with like Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan, because he could just, kind of just sense that he's like on the same, kind of power level, more or less. I mean, not really, but he's like a good sparring partner type deal. And he just like wants to hang out, and like he kind of knows like what Goku's about and whatnot. So it's understandable from that perspective.
Burst proclaiming himself as still evil is less a regression and more a final act of defiance, knowing fully well that by doing what he's about to, he will never truly be his old self again. Of course, I'm referring to him merging with Kami and becoming the nameless Namekian once again.
Okay.
Sort of. While Piccolo retains the dominant personality, this doesn't just give him power. Much like with Nail, Piccolo has Kami's memories as well, shown by Piccolo knowing that Goku used the Room of Spirit and Time as a child. Having Kami's memories completes his own life experiences in his mind, and it even gives him insights into the Dragon Clan side of being a Namekian. You see, Piccolo and Nail are both members of the Warrior Clan, the type of Namekians that are proficient in combat rather than their people's mystical abilities. Despite the nameless Namekian being sent to Earth as a child, Kami naturally moved to create the Dragon Balls, something exclusive to the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Balls were made after Kami and Piccolo split, something we know because the Demon King didn't know anything about them. So while merging with Kami the way he did keeps Piccolo solely a member of the Warrior Clan in terms of abilities, he learns what it is to be a member of the Dragon Clan, gaining further insight not only into himself, but a more complete image of what it is to be a Namekian. So with insight into both clans, memories of life on planet Namek, and a full reconciliation of his two halves, Piccolo has truly become a super Namekian, tapping into the natural potential he was born with rather than his wasted and fractured potential. And after that, basically nothing happens for a really long time.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad because like up until that point, like when he's like fighting Cell, Form 1 Cell or whatever, I don't remember if like there were any interesting arcs going on with like Goku, Vegeta, and any other like, bad guy type friends that he had or anything like that. So like Piccolo popping off on like what was it, Cell, like First Form Cell or Imperfect Cell, that was really cool to see Piccolo pop off, because up until that point I don't really remember seeing him like be like have like a main character like type scene or whatever. Piccolo would always be the first guy in, and he would be the first guy to get beat up. It was always that type of deal.
Piccolo is treated far less seriously in the Buu saga, and in Dragon Ball Super there are some attempts made to utilize him better, but they always seem to get undercut by the worst writing possible.
Yeah.
Like him dying in Resurrection F in the most bland way imaginable. Dragon Ball Super
dumb.
is beginning to redeem itself with Piccolo though, and there was one final thing they could use to complete Piccolo.
Well, because it like at the point of Resurrection of F, everyone is like multi-universal levels of like strength and power, and you have like gods of destruction, and it's like it's so ridiculous, like the amount of power that these guys can generate, and to think that the whole gang can kind of generate this power, like you start to lose the perspective, because the numbers that these guys are doing are so massive. It's unfathomable. So you kind of like, I guess the writers had to have some sort of, like some emotional triggers to, get Goku doing his thing. Like, oh, you killed my best friend, da 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 da. So, realistically, they were probably more like on the same level, but for the sake of the story, that some people just had to go so they could get that, Goku and his buddies could get that emotional kick, the Saiyans do.
Despite Dende being brought to Earth and made the new god of the planet, the Dragon Balls and Shenron himself are still Kami's creations. The statue was made by Popo, but Kami is the one who breathed life into Shenron initially. So, as happened when Guru passed down Purunga to Elder Mori after his death, so too were Kami's Dragon Balls and Shenron passed on to Dende. And that's where the new movie comes in. In Dragon Ball Super Superhero, Piccolo is constantly referred to as the Demon King by the Gammas, or even Kami by Master Karin. But he keeps reminding everyone he is simply Piccolo now. The movie isn't doing this for fun, it's constantly reminding us of his roots intentionally. Later in the film, he wishes for his potential to be unlocked by Shenron, the same process Grand Elder Guru did for Gohan and Krillin. Side note, Elder Guru actually does it for Dende as well, but Dende just doesn't mention it in the movie for some reason.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this process is simply a realization of Piccolo's own potential, something we've seen many times throughout the series. But while Piccolo and Shenron talk about the wish, Shenron continues to talk to Piccolo respectfully, calling him Piccolo-sama, basically Lord Piccolo. Like everyone else in the film, he's acknowledging Piccolo's origin. He understands that Piccolo is his original creator. What's important is what Shenron does after the initial potential unlock. He adds in something extra for Piccolo. Later in the film, this power manifests itself as Orange Piccolo, a transformation that gives him power on top of his own latent potential, power directly derived from Shenron. You see, for Shenron to unlock Piccolo's potential, he had to be upgraded by Dende. Unlike the time Dende added more wishes to Shenron, this time Dende's upgrade completely changed Shenron's statue. This is the moment where Shenron truly becomes Dende's dragon. An excellent moment for him, but for Piccolo, it's something else. In a way, Orange Piccolo is the life he bestowed in his own creation, returning home in the form of power. Piccolo has, in a way, been completed. The Demon King, the warrior, the god, and now the dragon. An important thing to note is the lore of the Dragon Balls. In Dragon Ball Super, the Namekians...
Yes, but it does seem like kind of ridiculous in that, what do we have? We have like Master Ultra Instinct Goku. We got Ultra Ego Vegeta or whatever. And all these other like multi-galactic universal levels of power from like the main two dudes. You have Gods of Destruction, people like from other universes like coming up to like the similar levels of power. And then here comes, Goku, or here comes Piccolo and Gohan, and now they just get brought up to that level, seemingly, if that's what, the movie's trying to peddle, for us, because who'd they fight? They fought like, what, Red Cell or something? I forgot his name. But it's like, it's just like the level spike happened over like a single movie where, with Goku and Vegeta, it happened over like multiple episodes, like many episodes and seasons or whatever. So it's kind of understandable to see like the rise, whereas in like Piccolo and Gohan, it's just like, okay, now they're here, or first they're here, okay, now they're up here.
Treat the Dragon Balls as a sort of religion. They pray to them, seeking their protection in times of crisis, and even treat collecting them as a journey of self-worth and a judgment of one's character or intentions. In the Moro arc, very minor manga spoilers ahead, really it's nothing,
that's okay.
The Namekians are protected by their Dragon Balls and by extension Purunga, despite no wish being made in that time. Orange Piccolo is similar in a way. This is the Namekians' reverence and reliance on the Dragon Balls culturally being manifested. Just look at the colors of Orange Piccolo. He's orange with red accents, just like the Dragon Balls themselves. To go further on the actual design of the form, there's a symbol that appears on his back, and it's more important than you realize. A circle completes itself, and within it, a Namekian tree, the Ajisa tree, fully blooms looms within. As described in the novel version of Dragon Ball Super Superhero, this symbol represents Namekian pride, which makes perfect sense for Piccolo at this point in his journey. After receiving his heritage from Nail, becoming whole again with Kami, and having life he granted to his own creation returned to him as power with Shenron, Piccolo's own circle is complete, and he has blossomed, like the Ajisa tree on his back, into a completed Namekian end character. From Demon King to loving uncle, this is the story of the Namekian that calls Earth home, Piccolo. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and thank you so very much for watching.
Basically.
Okay.
It's no...
Yeah. So, like, Piccolo has always been, like, the father figure for Gohan. Goku is, like, dog shit. He's never there. He's always off trying to fight and gain power and eating. Piccolo is Gohan's dad, so it's completely understandable for them to have like a duo movie, you know, with Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo, and that be way more satisfying. Because you see Piccolo train with Gohan more than Goku train Gohan. Like, yeah, there's like a little tidbit, like when they're in the hyperbolic time chamber or whatever, but for the majority of the time, it's mostly Piccolo always training Gohan. So, yeah, just my 2 cents. But yeah, I thought this was a great video. I think it was completely earned for Piccolo to get the form or whatever. I mean, so like, should any other like Z fighters get like a Giga Chad form or whatever? I mean, should Krillin get like his own thing? I mean, because Krillin is just a human. So it's mostly just the aliens that get like the superpowers. So it's not really feasible for like a human to go like multi universal or whatever. So like, who else is an alien? You know, part of the gang that could, you know, get to those levels, and should they, for the sake of the story? Because, you know, it's Dragon Ball. Everyone's gotta get more powerful. Blah blah blah. But yeah, I think that's an interesting question too. But yeah, I thought this was another great banger from Carthu's Dojo. Great stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.